Welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your home for NFL news, views and opinions on this side of the pond. Check us out online at thesnappodcast.com and join in with the debates and random nonsense at anyone.
The Snap UK.
Thank you. Tonight at the Doghouse, I welcome a full lineup. Everyone's here. The whole offensive line is present. John, Jim, Gary, Paul, say hi.
Hello.
That means we have lots of opinions to get to in a week that frankly was a little bit disappointing when compared to recent weeks, let's be honest. But there's still plenty to go over, including a giant slaying, the reigning champs packing up and going home for the season, and also some talk around OBJ that we sort of need to delve into now about where he's going to turn up and how soon. Some teams could really use him. A plethora of injuries to cover as well, sadly. Bucks, Seahawks, Dolphins and Jags all on the bye. Let's kick off the review with Cowboys 40, Vikings 3. For the second week in a row, the Vikings are part of our opening discussion, but this week, not such a good thing. After overcoming the Bills last week, the Vikings failed to show up against the Cowboys and now sit at 8-2 with a minus point differential on the season. 301 to 299 scored, I believe, is their point differential. The Cowboys come back after the Packers loss and wreak havoc with Pollard leading on the ground and through the air. He and Zeke with 2 touchdowns each. And the D sacked Cousins 7 times, which is a record for Kirk Cousins. He'd never been sacked 7 times in a game before in his 11 seasons in the league.
He's had 11 seasons in the league.
This is a statement win for the Cowboys. Where do you want to go?
2 seasons behind RG3, though. That's what we're focusing on.
So, from this, we understand the Cowboys are better than the Bills.
Do you? Or was it just a terrible night for the Vikings? Because I don't know whether they put too much into last week or whether just not enough into this week. They just look completely underprepared.
It wasn't quite prime time, was it? But it was the later slate of games where there's not as much clutter going on. So was Kirk Cousins a bit afraid by the fact that it was sort of prime time?
Maybe, but let's put this in a different light. This is the largest road win ever for the Cowboys. They have been a team since 1960.
They've been a very good team in that time as well.
Yes, the largest ever road win. Like, the Vikings just didn't show up.
They didn't.
Shocking.
I think also you can't underestimate it. The Cowboys are a very good team.
Vikings have been a good team, though.
They've got the best wide receiver in the league most weeks.
No, I mean,
what do you get this week? Like 30 yards or something? 33 yards.
Just to back you boys up.
No, but I mean, if you look at it in terms of, they had the Defensive Rookie of the Year, who came big.
And he's also probably on par for Defensive Player of the Year. One of the challenges.
He should be.
They've got probably the best running back by committee in the league.
We're going to get to that later, but yes, at the moment, probably.
And CD Lamb is starting to come big because he's needed to be with Cooper.
Well, Gallup's back as well now, isn't he? Which helps.
They're a good team. Whilst the Vikings capitulated here, you can't overestimate the fact that the Cowboys are actually very good.
Mike McCarthy getting the coaching exactly spot on in this game. The defense was just amazing.
Yeah, that's not on Mike McCarthy, is it? That's Dan Quinn, and he's been rumoured to be a head coach candidate even in Dallas since last year, where the defense was good again. Look, it's a great defensive performance. It was a mistake-free performance by the Cowboys as well. Like, there weren't any mistakes. Like Dak Prescott, Dak had an amazing
22
game.
of 25.
Yeah. Didn't throw an interception. I don't think there were any fumbles either. They didn't lose the ball, and they played really good defense. And that's generally how you win games. Now, I think the margin of victory was as much down to the Vikings consistently chasing the game, and they couldn't get on top. That meant you weren't using Dalvin Cook as much. He only had 11 carries, still at 72 yards. A good day for him. But it put a lot of pressure on the passing game. And when you do get that amount of pressure on a player like Kirk Cousins, it's not always going to end. It normally won't end that well. I think that there are kind of a mid-tier of quarterbacks like Jimmy G, Dak, Kirk, who are all, and Tua to an extent, are all pretty much the same quarterback. They're really good in the system they play in.
Yep.
But if you put a lot of pressure on them, they're going to be the quarterback that is going to lead you to victory. They'll guide you to a victory on the basis of all the personnel around you, but they're not going to be the ones that inspire you to get to a victory.
Last week, I said that there are a handful of quarterbacks that are in the category good enough to win you or good enough to win a Super Bowl with.
Yep.
Are Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins at the either end of that category? Like Kirk Cousins at the bottom, Dak at the top?
I don't think
or are they not that far apart?
I don't think they're that far apart at all.
I don't think you can put everything on the quarterback.
No, I'm
because
not,
you take like Carson Wentz with the Eagles, pretty much ran them there, and that you see what he's like without that scheme, without that coaching.
Yeah,
he's a different player. It's a moment in time.
Well, yeah, Nick Foles was able to come in and win the Super Bowl, wasn't he? So
I don't remember.
We all
we remember.
that was a really cool trick play. You should watch it back.
John and I,
one that Brady missed.
John and I were watching this game, and
What, the Super Bowl where you lost?
yes, that's the one. No, the Cowboys
game.
Vikings game when the Cowboys went for a 60-yard field goal with Brett Maher, and the ball snuck inside the post to the point where we weren't even sure it had gone in. But a timeout had been called, and he had to do it again. And he hit it straight down the middle with 5 yards to spare for his fourth 60-yarder of the season, which is a record for the NFL.
He hasn't missed from over 60 yards.
He hasn't missed from over 60 yards in the league.
I really hate that icing call that coaches make because it just gives the kicker another chance. You know, if they miss it, all right, I've got something to correct myself with now. And if they get it, it's like, well, I'll just do the same again, maybe a bit harder. Like you're just giving them an extra practice shot. I don't think it worries them. They're constantly under pressure. Whether you have a timeout or not, they're under the same level of pressure. What's the point?
I mean, also from a position which can so easily be replaced, as you see him by good kickers like Blankenship just disappear out the league.
It wasn't icing though, was it? They challenged the CeeDee Lamb catch.
Oh, was it?
So because it looked like at some point he'd lost control of it.
Yeah, he just basically landed on the ball.
He landed on the ball. But yeah, it wasn't just an icing. They tried to challenge the play.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was still cool as shit to see him put an extra 5 yards on it.
Right, well, moving on in the NFC East, the rest of the division also played this weekend. The best overall record in the league put on a show for us this week. The Eagles trailed the Colts 13-3 in the fourth quarter. And in 43 games entering the fourth quarter when they were behind, they had lost all of them, going back to 2010. Anyway, they turned up the volume and consigned Jeff Saturday to a first defeat, 17-16 the final score. Jalen Hurts, the star of the show once again, but the signings of Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh came up huge in that final quarter. They absolutely obliterated Matt Ryan. They both ended up on top of him. I wouldn't want to be wearing white trousers with them two sitting on top of me. Honestly, they just crushed him. It was ridiculous. Is this a prove-it game, Eagles managing to overcome the fourth quarter? I know the Colts are a bad team.
Colts should have won this game.
They should have won this game.
Easily. All they needed to do was just play a bit more situational football and kick a few more field goals, and they would have easily won that game. It was really, I think it showed a team lacking in confidence and, finding its identity again under a new coach. And the Eagles, it was good for them to bounce back after they lost, definitely, but for me, the Colts defense finally turned up a bit, which was interesting to see. Yep. If they can do that for the rest of the season, that would be
Buckner had a great game.
Yeah, that would be really positive signs. But again, it shows then the Eagles against a tough defense, what they'll be like. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. They're not exactly flying at the moment, are they?
They haven't been. I mean, they've won games all season, but they've not destroyed teams since they beat the Vikings, which was their second game 24-7, and then they beat the Commanders 24-8. The rest of the games have been pretty close. It's been within a score or maybe two. They obviously lost the other week to Commanders. Before that, 29-17 against a bad Texans team. It would worry me if I was an Eagles fan. Like, okay, you've come through a match and you've won it, but you've not been convincing. Maybe Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh need another week within that team to really excel, but they're both quality players. So
to be fair, when their job is kill the man up front,
it's not a difficult game plan, is it?
Yeah, but they've been brought in because the Eagles were getting absolutely done in the running game. This week they only gave up 99 rush yards. Like, it's worked straight away. The impact of two men who are the sides of the table we sit at is phenomenal. Suh getting paid again, by the way. Like, it's just massive.
I think the difference was the run game was stifled up. So then for the Eagles, and that meant they could, Hurts couldn't do as much as he normally can because there wasn't the support there, and it hurt the passing game because of the run game.
Hurts needs support in the run game. It can't all be on Hurts. Like Miles Sanders needs to step up. They need to get more out of Boston Scott or Kenneth Gainwell if you absolutely can. That's the biggest difference between Hurts and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Jackson has always had a lot of support in the running game, be it J.K. Dobbins.
He's probably had more running
Gus
backs
Edwards.
than anyone else in the past 2 years.
But there's always been someone there. Like, I'd take Kenyon Drake over Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
Because Miles Sanders is just so inconsistent. So, I think that support would make the game plan that much better. If they bring in Melvin Gordon's free, even though they bring in him and put him behind Jalen Hurts, that might be an improvement over Miles Sanders.
I think also, is there the possibility of kind of that new coach bounce they talk about, where you get a new coach in and you want to perform for them?
Definitely, the Colts have, but let's not be daft here. Jeff Saturday, the team believe in him. Clearly, the Frank Reich thing had come to an end. The team wasn't really performing, and binning Matt Ryan off, the team just stopped. Like, even the defense was just like, what are we doing here? We're playing some kid who we've played in practice and we know isn't that good.
You got to be like, what's the point? Like,
don't put your body on the line for that.
Maybe not so much coaching, but management ownership. If the instruction is to pull Matt Ryan, then that just says to all the players, we've given up this season.
It does.
But what do you expect the players to do? They're not going to put their health on the line to try and win a game when ownership is like, we don't really care about this year.
No, it would be it would be a silly thing to do, to throw yourself into a non-committed team. Okay, the Commanders fought back into the playoff hunt and continued their run of 5 wins in 6 games, going 4-1 with Heineke under centre, and he's now been confirmed as the starter going forward. And when Rivera was asked why, he said, winning. I mean, which is fair. They dispatched the Texans 23-10, Washington shutting down Pierce and extinguishing the one things the Texans do okay. Brandon Cooks was back for Houston, but otherwise no good news in Texas. This was probably a bigger win than it appeared to be. This is the sort of game you expect the Commanders to trip up. In the past, they have done, but 148 total yards I think the Texans got. Davis Mills was terrible. Pierce at running back was averaging like 3 feet a carry, or not even. It was
that 0.8 yards.
0.8
Davis Mills ran in
carry
for a touchdown, didn't he? Right near the end, when
the
defense had basically given up. It was just like, we've done our job here. Thanks very much.
I think that was the Texans' chance to win another game this year. Like, I can't see them winning again. They got the Jaguars. It's their second last
the
game.
Commanders are way better than I expected them to be this year.
Only a game back from the Giants and the Cowboys.
And also, they're going to bring back Chase Young now, which is scary.
And I do like their running game. I think they have got 2 good running backs.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, they need to find the balance of using them. It's been a bit haphazard this season of how they're going to, they wanted to get rid of Gibson, they wanted to play Robinson, then he got shot, then they had to go back the other way. Let's not forget he got shot in the ass.
Just love the way you just like casually
but
you got
just
shot.
throw it in there.
Like it was always part of the plan.
Like this just happens in the NFL all the time.
But this is the thing, the teams try and move on sometimes too quickly from these running backs. It's the same with the Jets with Michael Carter. They're good players. Just keep them. They're not costing you that much money. Just have 2 of them. See what's happening at the Cowboys. See what's happening at the Browns. Like for a long time, we've seen this. A 1-2 punch with your running backs is what you need.
Yeah.
So especially with Heineke under centre, because if you can limit how much you want him to run around and pass, then he can be okay. But just he's like a Daniel Jones, isn't he? But slightly better.
I suppose I think he's just Fitzmagic Jr.
You just love him.
I do, and I absolutely think that's what he's like. Here's what he reminds me of. He's just running around, throwing the ball up there. He
comes out with a diamond chain on next week.
Davis
You'll
Mills
be in
got picked
love,
off
literally.
On the first Texans play of the game, first Texans series of the game. And then Heineke's first pass of the game went straight into the hands of a Texans defender, miles down the field, and he dropped it. And you're like, yeah, he's just here to sling. Like that's all he does. He's like a shit Brett Favre, but it's entertaining. That's what I like to see. Carson Wentz not entertaining.
I like that he buys Jordans in the colour of the teams he defeats.
Yeah, for him and his O-line.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's what he does.
It's going to keep your own line on side, isn't it?
But he's been at that team for a few years. He's understood how it works. He's clearly trained with them regularly. It kind of shows sometimes just longevity which clearly never doesn't exist in the NFL, but longevity can work sometimes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's a question for you. Jerry Rice, Tyreek Hall, Eric Metcalf. Who is the fourth name on this list? It is a name from this game.
Sorry, say the names again.
Jerry Rice,
Yeah.
Tyreek Hall, Eric Metcalf.
Terry McLaurin.
No. Close. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom!
Dotson.
It's Curtis Samuel. Samuel became the fourth wide receiver in the Super Bowl era with 2,500 receiving yards, 15 receiving touchdowns, 600 rush yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns in a career. The other 3 are all in the Hall of Fame, or will be, because Tyreek Hill will go into the Hall of Fame. Like, he's just quietly gone about being brilliant at his role. Like, we talk about the Debo role. He does it almost as well. It's just that he's playing at a time when Debo's doing it. But on terrible teams, Curtis Samuel, he's done it for the Panthers, and now he's basically done it for Rivera on the Panthers and now the Commanders.
He's done it for Rivera.
It's brilliant use of a player.
Yeah, he was brought in to work alongside Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. That didn't work out. He's gone to the Commanders with Rivera, and now he's got 2 good running backs to work with and two actually decent wide receivers as well. He's not the main man, but he's that gadget third wide receiver / running back.
I'm guessing he's done it over a lot more games than the other players.
He's only been in the league since
He's not been in the league that long.
2017 or 2018. 2017, I think.
But it does show the Panthers can't have nice things.
Well, we're going to get to that. We best talk about the fourth team in the NFC East. The New York Football Giants dropped to 7-3 after defeat to the Lions, falling back to 3rd in the division, but still with the 7th seed in the playoff race. The final score, 31-18. Saquon not a factor. Some big injuries as well in this game. And proof, if anyone needed it, the Lions are as good as the Packers.
It's the Lions' third win on a row.
First time since
2018.
2005.
2017 was the last time they had a
I nearly
3-game winning
went for
streak.
that.
Yeah,
I
you
nearly
were
went
very
for
close. I mean, Jamal Williams, 12 touchdowns in a season after 10 games is a record for the Lions. Think about who they've had at running back in the past.
He's leading the league at the moment.
Yeah, he is
isn't
leading the
for
league.
rushing
He had a
touchdowns.
hat-trick on the day.
I mean, he's also brilliant in terms of media. The guy's thicker than anything.
Is he really?
So good.
He is brilliant on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
I have not watched in-season Hard Knocks. Is it good?
No, this is pre-season.
Oh, pre-season Hard Knocks. Oh, I don't remember that far back. Blimey.
The Cardinals are the in-season Hard Knocks, so
Probably
best to avoid it.
I will. Paul,
Hello.
talk to me about the Giants. What's the problem? Is it the age-old problem of if Saquon gets shut down, Daniel Jones is rubbish?
We're a 70% win rate after 10 games.
Yes.
Stop harshing my buzz.
Daniel Jones, 27 of 44, 341 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions, only sacked twice. I don't think he looked that terrible on the day, to be honest. But once you take away Saquon, who had 22 total yards at 1.5 a carry.
Kenny Golladay had 2 catches.
His first catch is week 2.
But we need help at wideout.
That means he's got 4 catches
You
on the
need
season.
even more help at wideout now because Wan'Dale Robinson had a breakout game, 9 receptions, 100 yards, and then destroyed his cruciate, and he's done for the season.
Very Giants, isn't it? But
It is extremely... So your lead receivers now will be Slayton, James, and Hodgins? Hodgins?
I like Slayton. I
He
don't.
left that Golladay.
Yeah, because he's got 4 catches on the season.
When you say leading in terms, you mean in terms of salary?
No, we know it's all about Saquon being fit, isn't it? Their defense is good, and if Saquon is fit, the game plan becomes easy. It reminds me of the Panthers about 6 years ago, or 5 years ago, when CMC was very good
Before he got injured.
and their defense was good. Not amazing, but very good. And obviously they were very competitive with a really great, multifaceted running back.
Ooh, multifaceted.
You like that?
I did.
But that's what it reminds me of. Daniel Jones could easily be a shit cam, couldn't he? Very shit.
Yes, he could. A very shit cam was what I'm going for.
But,
He's a post MVP cam.
Yes, yeah, that's a good analogy.
Patriots cam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patriots cam.
The team, it's one of the weakest squads in the league that somehow at 6 or 7 wins.
7-3.
7-3. Somehow it's there. I don't know how. Well coached, well drilled. The injuries. I know. Everyone gets injuries, and it really bites when we don't have the squad in the first place. Wan'Dale Robinson is a big loss, especially when we traded away Kadarius Toney for some beans. Bellinger's back, that'll help. But yeah, I mean, if Saquon isn't working, then it does become quite obvious that the team isn't good enough. And we've got 7 wins. I couldn't give a shit. I didn't see us getting 7 wins this season and next, so I'm pleased.
I mean, as Giants fans, we said at the beginning of the season, we've won 4 games for the last 3 years. The fact that we have a winning record is fine.
And actually, the Lions are probably not the best team for you guys to come up against because they score points, the Lions. And the Giants don't score points. So you can only win games if you hold teams to 20 points, which is what we've seen all season. And the Lions, they lose like 45-35 every week. They score points. They've just not got a great defense.
The defense is turning up. Suddenly, Aiden Hutchinson looks like the number 2 pick in the draft. 3 weeks now, he's been like really, really good. We at the start of the season, I said if the defense could get 10% better, then those 40-35 games might go in their favour. They didn't have to do that this week. Against the Packers the week before, of course, they kept them to 13 points. It's a defense that's getting better. They look well drilled. I mean, they're not a good team, but neither are we. It is what it is. Let's see how it lies at the end of the season. If we've got extra games in January, I'd be surprised. At the moment, I just don't see it happening. But I'm not disheartened.
Fair enough. What do we think though regarding Daniel Jones? Where do they go for next season? It cannot stay the same.
I was going to ask.
Playoffs or otherwise.
Out of the last 2 games we've just spoken about, Davis Mills and Daniel Jones. Those are 2 quarterbacks which, at the moment, are going to be on the trash heap come this time.
I think so.
For me, this is kind of it's neutral for the Giants because we went into the season knowing we had to play him because we had no other option, with the intention we were going to get rid of him. That's why we didn't take the 5th-year option.
Yeah, but who do you envision under centre next? Who do you want? Where do you go?
Derek Carr might be available at this rate.
But there's so much football to be played. There's so many variables at play before we could get there.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are looking like a viable option for players to want to go to, that's what you want.
If you rush a decision, you end up with Carson Wentz. If you go all in, you end up with Russell Wilson. Like, neither of those trades have come out of this well. I sort of have trust in the coaching and the back office now. Let's see what happens. I'd take a Jimmy G right now.
I think he makes this Giants team so much better.
Because we don't need to be a very sexy offense right now. We just need to.
Oh, he's sexy.
Well, he's a sexy man, but like, if we could get some, yak monsters like Debo, that'd be, that's. But if we can get some players who are going to create some yards rather than Kenny Golladay to stand like a fucking totem pole, I'd be I think we can. Like, people like Wan'Dale Robinson can create yards. That's what we need. We need some explosiveness, and I think Golladay will go. He's not. He can't stay.
No. 100%,
but
keep the mic there, John. This is the right time to bring in the OBJ debate. OBJ is testing the water at most notably the Cowboys, but apparently the Giants as well. Do you want him back?
I'd love him back.
Do you think he'll come back?
No. I think if what he wants is another ring, which, why wouldn't you? I think there's 13 other teams that are more likely.
But can the Giants pay him?
No.
Because he likes the money.
Well, no, we can't. We don't have the space for this year.
Right.
I would, if we can come back for like a few weeks and get his money at Dallas, whoever, Buffalo, there's 14 teams that could do with him.
Here's the plus for the Giants, though. If he goes to the Cowboys, he's not the number one receiver.
Yeah,
he's number 3.
Yeah, but he was number 3 at the Rams.
What, behind CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup?
He's 2.
I'm sorry, on reputation alone, he would.
Yeah,
go
but
above those on the roster.
reputation doesn't get you all that far.
He's coming back.
He's come back from a huge injury. Look at Chris Godwin this season. He's one of the best receivers in the league. He looks terrible.
I think he starts at number 3. If he goes,
I don't think being number 3 is a bad. I know there's an ego
there
there,
is, but
going in
on the field.
for his ego, like he didn't come in as a number 1 for the Rams.
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp is the de facto number 1. Like no one's, and
multifaceted de facto. What's happened?
he came in because
I had a dictionary before he came in.
Bobby Trees got injured. That's what happened. That's why he came in. I think going in being like 2.5, argue who's better, him or Gallup. I think a fit Beckham can absolutely transform that team.
If I was the Giants, I wouldn't be bringing him in. You're in a rebuild.
Yeah,
there's already a young squad there. I wouldn't want to bring in someone who could potentially disrupt that dressing room to an extent where the coach has suddenly lost the dressing room. I'd leave it up to Dave. If the GM goes to Dave and said, "Do you want him?" I'd probably expect Dave to go, "Not yet." If they're in a win now situation,
and this it. If we were 9-1, this is a very different scenario.
You're 9-1 with a different quarterback who is better. That's a different conversation. Right now, to your point, Paul, it's great that you've got a winning record. To your point, John, if you get into playoffs, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But no one's expecting that from the Giants this year.
There's 2 teams in the NFC East who probably would do more with him than we would.
All he wants to do is just.
I mean, actually, fair. There's 3.
A ring and catch a few fades in the end zone. That's all he wants.
And and the Giants isn't the place to do that.
Me too.
And even Heineke just slinging it like.
This is the other thing.
Would I know he wouldn't want to join the Commanders. It'd be bad for his PR and brand. But he'd have a great laugh. But yeah.
All right. Okay. Here's a game I didn't think would feature so early in the running order. Bears 24, Falcons 27. This one was actually good fun. Tied 17-all at the half following a 103-yard kickoff return from Cordero Patterson, who now holds the NFL record with 9 kickoff returns for touchdowns. This one was on Justin Fields' hands at the death, and I'm afraid his arm let him down, and he was picked off. He then was carted down the tunnel after the game had finished, and he has a shoulder dislocation. So, not ideal. The Bears have been lively, but without reward. The Falcons are 4-2 at home and in the playoff race, as it goes.
I can't believe it. Like their division is poor, really poor.
Yes,
but they are also at like 5 and
6,
which is pretty shoddy, really, to be in the playoff.
Yeah, no one's claiming it's great, but the fact is they're there. They're winning with not regularity, but they're winning. And they're doing it on the back of some brilliant special teams play from Patterson.
They
he
are
transforms that
winning,
team.
losing, aren't they? They are. And Pitts is injured, though, isn't he?
He's out for the season.
Which is a problem for them because they have nothing else to throw at.
Well, I like Drake London.
Well,
I mean, also based on
he
his
takes coverage, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's not been great this season.
Based on his
I think that's
having
more
him in
Mariota
fantasy.
than Pitts.
It's been the Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they're doing. They're building something, and if they bring in, I can't remember the guy they picked up as quarterback.
Desmond Ridder.
That's the one. The guy who looks like an old man. But
Old
he does.
man Ridder. He does look like an old man. You're not wrong.
But if he can sit for a season, understand the playbook, understand the team, build some experience, build some equity, they could be doing something really good next season.
As well. What the fuck is
What's going on with the Farrow brothers today?
I don't think any tight end has been targeted as much as Kyle Pitts this year.
No.
He's targeted on 20% of his snaps,
But he'd only got
but he only catches 45% of the balls.
From Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Like
Still,
he's tall, but he's not that tall.
He's only throwing like 7 yards to him. For fuck's sake. I mean, but yeah, no, it doesn't matter who's throwing. He's not catching them.
I agree. He was the lead receiver for the team, 3 receptions, 43 yards with a long of 18 on 5 targets on the game. But like I say, he's done now. The Falcons have got a win without him. Here's the thing. The Bears have now lost 5 of 6, but they've played well enough to win most of these games.
I'm just looking at the results. They are.
Are they unlucky or are they not coached enough to win the game?
I think they're unlucky.
I also think the roster sucks.
Yeah. Darnell Mooney's finally turning up now that Justin Fields can throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field.
Cole Kmet, speaking of tight ends, has had the last few games. He's been brilliant. He had an amazing catch this week as well, which was going to be my vote for Sweetest Player of the Week. It won't win, but it was a great catch.
It was a great one-hander. It was a great catch.
I refuse to accept the Bears winning anything.
There you go.
Like the NFL does.
They've given away huge parts of their defense.
Yeah.
You can't expect to be playing situational football when you've just given away half the team.
Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith,
etc.
Quinn, yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
So
if you bring in 1 or 2 players who improve that roster, I think out of all those games they've lost, they probably win maybe 50% of them.
the only thing that worries me is the field was quite clearly playing injured, and they.
Who's the backup there?
Nick Foles?
Oh, good.
I don't know. I don't think he is.
Is it not?
No, I don't think it is.
But yeah, whoever it is, But yeah, he was quite clearly playing injured, and they.
It's Nate Peterman.
Oh,
Nate
fucking
Peterman.
hell.
Or Trevor Simeon.
Trevor Simeon. Okay, fine.
But yeah, like
Muchness.
Yeah.
So Nick Foles suddenly looks good.
but it's just a bit worrying that he played injured, and you don't want to end up with we all remember how Baker ended like the year before, where he was just a bag of bones. I hope he isn't doing himself some damage for the future by trying to play in one of the worst squads in the NFL.
I do like how ESPN's depth chart doesn't even have Peterman on it. The third is just a dash.
It's just an interception.
It was a 53-yard Younghoe Koo field goal for the lead for the Falcons. He's been a weapon for them this season. There's 2 or 3 teams who have really hinged on their kickers this season. They are one of them because they're winning these narrow games. Don't forget, this was a guy who was cut by Los Angeles Chargers back when they were San Diego still, I think.
Yeah, that's
when
because
they
the
drafted
Chargers
him.
make silly decisions.
They
with
love
special
cutting
teams.
kickers.
They
Yeah,
really cut him after 6 games because he missed 4 or 5 field goals in the first 6 games. After they drafted him in the 5th round, they then cut him. And look at him now. He's one of the most consistent kickers every week.
He's brilliant.
For the last 2 years at least. It's been excellent. I know. You don't credit kickers much, but Maher and Koo today deserve the fact that they are helping their teams win.
Most good teams have a good kicker because they help you win these close games. Like, they don't miss extra points and they get long range field goals. And that's what Younghoe Koo does. That's what Rory Gould does in San Francisco. It's what Justin Tucker's done for God knows how many years.
Graham Gano doesn't get enough credit.
Graham Gano had his worst game of the season this week. He missed 2 extra points.
Yeah, he didn't score a single fantasy point for me.
Okay, so taking away this week, good point.
Yeah. He hadn't missed a kick up till this week.
He's been
If you can just bring that up again next week, that'd be great.
Right, Thursday Night Football saw the Titans travel to Green Bay and face a resurgent Packers. Well, that didn't last long, actually. Titans 27, Packers 17. Derrick Henry threw a touchdown on the Packers defense. Yeah, Derrick Herney. I may have misspelled that. Tannehill has won his last 6 starts. Vrabel is coaching brilliant football, and even Robert Woods turned up. It's finally over for the Packers. Can we at least agree on that? No playoffs for the Packers this year.
I think that's fair. I also feel the Titans won the AFC last season.
They did, yeah.
I don't know why people are surprised they're a good
They
team.
were 12-4, 12-5 last year.
And they did that without Derrick Henry.
Throwing touchdowns.
Or running.
Or being
There.
on the roster.
And a drunk offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, don't forget that.
The Packers are behind the Lions.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Why do you think I mentioned it earlier?
That's
He doesn't
literally.
realise how much research I do before I put this all down.
I know, but I don't read that. But it's literally ridiculous.
Research living in the past. He don't do that.
He doesn't do living in the past. I've heard this about him several times. Okay, look, Christian Watson, good.
Yep. Said he was.
Everyone else, not So good. You want to highlight me something you feel the Packers can keep going with, because everything else has been very inconsistent.
But they were good the previous week. Their running
Yeah.
game was much, much better. This week they only ran it 19 times.
I am enjoying the delicious irony this season that they drafted Dubs and all they're getting is L's.
I can't believe you've gone with that before we get to the
I
Cleveland
was going to
Browns.
say, yeah, that
Fuck.
sounds like a Cleveland Brown.
Aaron Rodgers, 24 of 39 in this game. Like,
To be fair,
what is with Aaron
He did
Rodgers?
come out and say afterwards, he goes, that's on me.
Yeah, and so he should.
Yeah, but every other week it's like, well, who am I meant to throw it to? Well, now you've got someone to throw it to.
We've got Randall Cobb back now as well.
Randy.
6 receptions for 73 yards.
Watson's
Randall Cobb.
finally showed up and he's just scoring touchdowns for fun. But Rodgers is terrible. Why go away from the run game? It was so good the other week. It was so good. And then you don't do it.
I don't know. That's been a strange one for them all season. Their best player on offense is Jones, and
Yeah.
they're not
AJ
consistently
Dillon's a
using him.
good
Yep.
player as well. And yeah, okay, they didn't get their average carries isn't amazing. 3.3 for Jones and 2.2 for Dillon, but they only ran 18 times between them. Like after a week of just absolutely dominating on the ground, they then go back to, I guess, the Aaron Rodgers playbook, and they lose again. What do you want to do?
I mean, also, I love the fact that this team has put so much into him that if he retired this season, which just talk escalates week on week, doesn't it? They are financially so buggered if he by dead cap space if he went.
Derrick Henry scored his 10th rushing touchdown of the season. That's 5 straight seasons with 10 or more rushing touchdowns. Do you want to have a go at naming the other 4 players? 4 players that have
Barry
done that.
Sanders,
No.
Emmett Smith,
No.
Daniel Tomlinson,
Yes.
Jim Brown,
The
No.
Juice.
No.
I say him every time.
Frank Gore,
No.
Fred Taylor.
No.
Curtis Davis,
AP. Thank you. 2 to go.
Shady McCoy.
No.
Le'Veon Bell.
No.
McCaffrey.
No. I'm confident you won't get the other 2.
Sean Alexander.
Oh, Sean Alexander. There's one left.
What sort of era are we
The
talking?
guy was an MVP. It's not a bad choice.
Before us. Certainly before me.
Walter Payton.
No, not that far back. Before we would be watching it, I suspect. Oh, it's Michael Turner.
Yeah, we would have got that.
He was brilliant at the Falcons.
He was brilliant at the Falcons, but that's it. Like Derrick
hate
Henry
that man.
cementing his position as one of the greatest running backs of all time.
I mean,
He just is.
You know, give him the jacket now and just walk him into the Hall of Fame.
They should give it to him while he's still playing.
Yeah.
So he's done. Yeah, absolutely.
Can anyone say if he retired at the end of this season, no one's going to say, "Oh yeah, he shouldn't be in the Hall of
No,
Fame."
of
He's
course
the
not.
absolute dominant running back of his era.
Yes.
Let's end the half on a shambolic. No, sums this up. Let's end the half on a shambolic note, which suits
Irony.
us. The Panthers 3, Ravens 13. No one seemed interested in scoring in this one. Also a bit like us. It's now more than a year since the Panthers won on the road. Neither quarterback threw a touchdown. No one broke 50 rushing yards, and the star of the show was DeMarcus Robinson. Boys, 3 quarterbacks on the Panthers roster, and they may all be rubbish. How do you manage that? Like that's
How do
awful.
you get picked by a man with no fingers? How? That's ridiculous. That was the number 1 overall pick.
Getting picked.
Being picked by a man with no fingers.
JPP can't pick his own nose, but he picked on Baker Mayfield. That is ridiculous.
You're getting the ball caught by a man with a club.
3-7 flat as the Panthers. This one was there for the taking, though, with any sort of competent quarterback play. It's like being picked off by Abu Hamza, is that what you're saying?
But Abu Hamza would. No, I'm not going to get into that. That's not a theoretical that needs to be discussed.
Are you saying it would be explosive play?
Would you have hooked him afterwards?
Right. What do you do if you're the Panthers? Because
blow it up, man.
This was poor.
blow it up?
The Ravens have lost some tight
up.
games this season, but this was actually their worst game. Like, they were bad in this game. Because
Yeah,
the Panthers don't offer anything.
I mean, the Ravens have a fantastic defense. They really do.
Yeah, they do.
They absolutely do, but the Panthers are just bad.
But the Panthers have been giving away what they had
Yeah.
for a while. And, Sam Darnold was a hit and hope. Baker's a hit and hope. PJ Walker is a hit and hope.
But
the team has
how?
no hope.
How is Baker Mayfield 3 years ago now? He marched the Browns into the playoffs for the first time since 2001, and was a hero. How has he ended up
Do you know
where
what
he is now?
Earlier we said about those quarterbacks who just need the pieces around them.
Yeah.
The Kirk Cousins.
He's a
the
system
Dak.
quarterback.
He's a system quarterback. He's got nothing in Carolina.
No.
At least in Cleveland, he had receivers around him. He had a good running game. He had a good offensive line.
I mean, he also had Myles Garrett and
Yeah, absolutely.
Jadeveon Clowney on the other side.
Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
He's got DJ Moore, and that's it.
I keep hearing people say Baker's done, and I just think actually that's an unfair reflection on him because of how this career has gone. Don't forget he got kicked out of Cleveland basically for
No fault of his own, really.
yeah for Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
who hasn't played because he's nasty. So
Allegedly nasty.
I think we can
I
say
was
nasty.
it was nasty.
I think we can safely say no.
So like Baker's I mean, all right, he's looked terrible, but like you say, who wouldn't? You give Tom Brady these pieces, he's going to look awful.
Exactly. I mean, he's the best thing Baker Mayfield and probably Sam Darnold can do right now. Well, at the end of the season,
Retire?
Leave Carolina. Retire. But if they want to carry on playing, leave Carolina and go be a backup somewhere. Get out of the limelight.
It's worked well for Trubisky.
That's true. How is it then that the Panthers managed to put up some stubborn run defense? Because they held Kenyon Drake to 46 yards, was the lead rusher. Lamar, 31 yards on 11 carries. Like, this doesn't normally happen to the Ravens, but they got completely snubbed out in the running game.
The defensive line is probably the best unit that the Panthers have got in Brian Burns, Ito Gross-Matos, Shaq Thompson's decent run stopper. Their safeties are good in Jeremy Chin. That's where the strength is in Carolina at the moment. But
Strength is a relative word.
yeah,
Okay.
it's the high point of a low team.
When you keep putting the offense back on the field and the offense sucks,
Yeah.
you're going to have problems.
I think that takes us nicely to the break. Welcome back. Let's round out the AFC North, firstly with the interdivisional game between the Bengals and the Steelers. 37-30 ended, another loss for Pittsburgh, but a clean, competent game from Pickett. And on the other side, a huge game for Samaji Perine, who had 3 receiving touchdowns coming into this game, and now he has 6. Because he's Samaji. Samaji. There you go. I've been taught a lesson. What did you call him, John, at the weekend?
Samaj Parini.
Samaj Perini, I much prefer. So now he has 6, which is,
decent.
a decent improvement. Positives for both teams. Onto the playoffs for Cincy, but surely it's on to next season for the Steelers now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Burrow, 10,000 passing yards. Can you name the 2 quarterbacks that reached it faster than him?
Manning.
No.
Mahomes.
Marino.
Mahomes?
Marino.
No.
Favre.
How far away are you? No.
I mean, we're talking number of games or time.
Ryan.
Number of games played?
Rodgers.
No.
Matt Ryan.
No.
Is it Alex Smith?
Far more up to date?
Josh Allen.
No.
Cam Newton. Andrew
No.
Luck.
No.
Murray.
No. Christ. And I thought this was going to be easy. Da-da, boo, Herbert.
I didn't think Herbert had managed to get there yet.
I'm afraid you did.
But Burrow wins games.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he certainly does. Now, what's the update on Mixon? Because he went off injured, and they need him.
Unclear about whether he will play next week or not.
Glad you cleared that up for us. That's very helpful.
My entire fantasy team rests on that man's shoulders. So, no pressure.
You do look quite nervous there.
I just naturally.
Yeah.
I thought this was Kenny Pickett's cleanest game, best game of
yeah.
the season. Look, they don't get much reward for it, but Tomlin needs to allow him to play, assume that he is going to be the starter next season. Tomlin's going nowhere. He's got 2 or 3 seasons of equity before he has to actually produce a winning team again.
Next season.
Is equity the new shit?
Yeah,
of
I
it?
know, isn't it?
No. That's coming up later, I promise.
John promised me already.
This season's done and dusted. It's all about next season and strengthening that offensive line. They've got the weapons. They've got a good defense. It's all about developing Kenny Pickett into the starting quarterback that hopefully he'll turn into be. G. Harris had a good game for the first time in God knows how long. I know that because he was on my bench on several fantasy teams.
Najee or Najee?
Or in the G.
The G, yeah.
I don't know. I was getting told off for pronouncing things wrong. So.
And Najee.
Najee. Okay. The final AFC North team, the Browns, took on a wounded Bills in their penultimate matchup before the debut of the disgusting DeCunt Watson. Don't blame Brissett or the receivers for this loss. Blame Stefanski and or the running game, which was completely bottled up. Chubb had 1.4 yards per rush. Or blame the Browns D, which gave up 171 rushing yards, with Josh Allen only accounting for a season-low 7 of those. A well-rounded game from Buffalo as they try to get back into rhythm after 2 rough losses, 23-31 to Buffalo over the Browns. I mean, what more do you want a team to do than answer with this? One of those touchdowns for the Browns was like late in the day. This was a good comeback performance.
This was a nice win for the Bills. Like after 2 pretty dire performances and all the upheaval of moving this game to Detroit because of the snow.
Well, that's a completely other thing. This was played at the Lions' home stadium because of the 6 feet plus of snow over the whole of
Thunder snow.
We were all disappointed that it wasn't played in the thunder snow, but you can see why it would have been tricky at best.
There wasn't a stadium there.
It would have been hilarious though, wouldn't it?
They have had some amazing snow games.
They really have. Anyway, this is the perfect game for the Bills. They get a lot of yardage out of their running game. Josh Allen has a mistake-free game. The Browns aren't up to much at the moment. Anyway, you can run all over them, apparently. Receivers
What
are
is
fine.
going on with Myles Garrett and the rest of that Browns defence, which is supposed to be good?
Season's over.
Yeah, but
They've never really showed up this year.
They've shown up for a couple of games, but the season it's not about this year, is it? It's about next year. And I thought Josh Allen still doesn't look quite 100%. I know he's still nursing this elbow injury.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He still doesn't look as clean as he did 3 weeks ago. I'd still be a little bit concerned, if I'm honest, if I was a Bills fan, that you could have peaked too early this season. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I suppose there's a thought surrounding the Browns now. If you're out of the playoff race, why do you bring Deshaun Watson back at all now?
because he has to get reps.
He has to play.
That is the only reason I can see as well. Because otherwise, if he tears an ACL towards the end of the season,
I will laugh.
or
Hopefully, first play.
Yeah.
Literally drops back, crack.
I never want players
now,
to get injured, but
personal feeling about him aside, and I don't disagree, but in terms of a franchise that's just tied itself to the first fully guaranteed contract, which we are going to discuss after the games, isn't it a massive risk when there's nothing to play for?
But at some point you've got to play him, right?
Because he's missed 2 years.
Whether it's now or whether it's beginning of next season,
Sure.
irrespective of the contract, you've got to play him. He could, they could bench him for the rest of the season, play him the first game next year, and he screws up his ACL or MCL.
Plus, they're confident
Broke his
in their
legs.
research before they signed him.
Well, yeah, there is.
He's not been charged with any criminal
Yeah.
offence, and they're going to play him.
You wouldn't
The
give up.
fans are going to
Yeah.
want to see him play.
Exactly.
Is inconsistency still likely to be the Bills' downfall when it comes to the playoffs?
Well, yes. Because
Because-
you don't get in the playoffs. You don't get the chance of having a bad week.
No.
You've got to be good every week.
Yeah, they still rely too heavily on Josh Allen. That is their one downfall, I think. Obviously the receiving game looks good. Dawson Knox actually had a very good game this week as well.
Was very good. Diggs had a good second half after he had a bit of a talking to.
bit of a cry because it wasn't the ball wasn't being thrown to him.
Had to have a hug from the coach.
Yeah, they've got plenty of weapons on offense, but there is a lot on Josh Allen. If it's like against through the playoffs, it's like you have to play good team,
Yeah.
not good, bad, and that is the difference. And that's you can't have an 85% Josh Allen, otherwise you'll lose a playoff game like they did last year.
And also, at the moment, it looks like the way that the Chiefs are playing, it looks like the Bills aren't going to get that top spot. They're not going to have a bye week, so they're going to go straight into it, and they've got to be good from the off.
Sure. Right, the Bills' AFC East contemporaries, New England and the New York Jets, face off at Foxborough. The Jets hoping to break a 13-game losing streak at the Patriots.
Sorry.
How is this not
I was
last?
going to say, why are we talking about this one
Because
now?
it just comes following from the AFC East, okay? That's the only reason. Chill.
hell.
Win and they top the division because the Bills played later. Lose and they would be bottom. So what did the Jets do? They shat the bed spectacularly. In the end, a defensive masterclass from Bill and Salah drove the game towards stalemate, and boring stalemate at that. But in the end, a moment of special teams genius handed the win to New England in the dying seconds. 10-3 Patriots. just
Zach Wilson averaged something like 1.3 yards per play
Not
or
even.
something in the second half. It was ridiculous.
2.7 inches a
was it.
a play in the
Ridiculous.
second half. They had 2 yards in the second half on offense.
Just ridiculous.
It was tragic. He could have been picked off he should have been picked off 3 times. John will say twice plus one that was never going to be caught because he told me off for saying that we should have caught it. But I'm saying 3 times our players had hands on the ball and I should have caught them. He could have been picked off. Instead, he completed, I think, a total of 77 yards in the game.
9 completions of 22 attempts.
He was then asked afterwards if he felt like he had let the defence down, and he said, no, not at all.
Sauce Gardner had liked a tweet which said he had.
Yes, and one of the wide receivers came into the locker room and was heard saying, fuck this shit, we're not doing this again.
That was Elijah Moore by any chance?
I don't
And
know.
on TV, Booger and Steve Young had a big argument because Booger basically said Zach Wilson's never had to take accountability because he's from some rich household.
Well, he did... Look, he does seem to lack any accountability, but let's be honest, Robert Saleh should be playing Joe Flacco.
I think he
Yes.
will be.
Yeah.
He should be playing Joe
There's
Flacco.
more to why they didn't do well than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson shit the bed.
Is
but-
there... Is
Yes.
This defence was amazing.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson. 5 weeks ago, I apologised to Zach Wilson because he was included in my, the Jets are doing quite well and I ought to say sorry. I'm going back on that part of the apology because Zach Wilson is terrible. He takes no accountability for being terrible and they would be winning more games with Joe Flacco under centre. Robert Saleh's trying too hard to stick to the plan. The plan doesn't work.
I'd agree with that. I can't.
But he's refused to confirm Wilson as the starter this week, hasn't
Yeah.
he? So he'll go. He won't play.
I think obviously based on the play, you don't want to start him. But I think if he hadn't have said that in the press conference, I think he probably still would be starting. But because he said that, there's going to be animosity there in the dressing room. He is the reason they're not winning. Like, I'm sorry, but you're right. The defense was absolutely amazing in this game. Like, they kept they stopped Jones scoring any touchdowns through the air. They stopped any touchdowns going through on the ground game. They restricted Ramondo Stevenson to 1.7 yards a carry. Right? It was a great defensive masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then Zach Wilson goes out there and literally shits the bed.
He said, do you realise it was windy? And it was pointed out to him that Mac Jones had 237 yards, whatever it was.
246.
And he completed 23
23 off 27.
Yeah.
Like Mac Jones actually had, okay, there's no touchdowns, but there's no interceptions.
Yeah, that was actually his best game of the
Yeah.
season. Let's not pretend that's great, but it was his. Well, but it's true.
It's his best game of the season.
He's been terrible.
You only scored 3 points on offense. Let's
In terms of completion.
yeah, but let's not get too excited.
No, I wasn't. But my point is, in the game where Zach Wilson was basically saying, "Oh, it was impossible," Matt Jones had
not.
his best game of the season. It wasn't impossible.
Quarterbacks can throw in the wind.
Yeah.
Like,
We podcast with plenty of wind.
yeah, exactly.
They just can't throw it in the rain, remember?
That is true. It was very rainy.
Nicely
that
put,
day.
John. Nicely put. I like that. Right. Okay. We must talk about then. So, with 5 seconds to go, well, slightly over 5 seconds to go, the Jets punt the ball back to New England, and they're all waiting for terrible overtime. For some reason, they didn't punt the ball out of play,
Yeah, that is the most stupid
and
thing.
they didn't manage to block anyone because Marcus Jones just caught the ball and ran 84 yards for the first punt return touchdown of the season for anybody. And it was a walk-off. It was the first walk-off touchdown win for the Patriots since 1962 on a punt return. It absolutely
Yeah, Tom Brady for 50 of those seasons.
yeah, of course. But come on now.
I don't know. Spectacular play. Kind of feel like the Jets just gave up. And no one wanted this to go to overtime. No one wanted it to go to overtime.
No. They didn't.
Kick it out,
But
don't you?
Kick it
But
out,
you just
yeah.
kick it out of play. So that was poor coaching. So what I'm getting at here is Salah, once again, great defensive coordinator. He's making some poor coaching decisions as a head coach.
I see this a little bit
Surely
like
that's
the
just
Giants,
badly
right?
coached special teams, isn't it?
So you don't. He might have said,
But
to
he can overrun that
He
and say,
might have
"Punt it
said
out of
he
play."
might have said to the punter, "Punt it out of play," and the punter just fucked it up.
It wasn't even close. It was down the middle of the field.
For me,
But it was windy.
this is a little bit like the Giants. If you offered the record they had now to a Jets fan at the beginning of the season, they would bite your hand off.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. I
I
agree.
do, because you guys thought I was insane for saying they'd have a winning record this season.
In windy conditions against a team that's not playing very well as well. How many games this season have been decided on muffed punts? If your catcher muffs that, they kick it, they win.
That's true. Jones, however, was drafted because he's one of the greatest punt returners in college.
I know, but that's.
I get it.
It's a game. Like Patriots games, more than any, are built on tiny margins at the moment, and that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm not putting this on Salah. I think Salah coached a team to within. I mean,
defensively, he kept up with Bill Belichick. Not many coaches do that. I don't disagree.
But yeah.
More importantly, change the quarterback.
Exactly.
Change the whole offense.
There have been 95 quarterbacks drafted since 2000. Where does Zach Wilson rank in order of efficiency?
94.
He's 93rd.
So who's behind him?
I couldn't even find it, but yeah, they are. There's no very bad.
He has been compared to Jamarcus Russell frequently in the last week.
So it's all fallen apart for Wilson again since Breece Hall got injured. That is the reality.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
we said
it's all fallen apart for the Jets. I don't think Zach Wilson was that great.
Wilson was being
but it was not putting a light on him, was it?
True.
They would have got with Breece Hall. They'd have got enough yards to score more points.
They probably would have won with Breece Hall, but the fact that he's not there just shines that light a little bit harder on Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson wasn't playing well when Breece Hall was there. It's just that the fact they had a really good running game, and that's not showed up because you're playing against a really good defensive genius.
With Breece Hall, the Jets win that game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
John
doesn't.
Then we'd be listening to a Griff rant, about.
Well, John had to listen to me rant for the whole game about how shit our offense is anyway, because it was abortionate again. And as I pointed out earlier, I like entertaining quarterbacks, and Mac Jones isn't. But
you are a dull team to watch.
Yeah, we are a dull team to watch. Let's move on.
You were a dull team to watch when you were winning.
Super Bowl. 13-3 in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
I mean, that's Bill Belichick.
From Snorefest to Scorefest now. Monday Night Football gave us 49ers at Cardinals. 49ers gave us an offensive masterclass. Kittle, Ayuk and Debo all scoring. CMC and Mitchell now the best 1-2 running back duo in the league. And Jimmy G, unflustered and unstoppable. The Cards gave us what they had, but as so often, it wasn't enough. And in the end, they were shut out in the second half to lose 38-10.
Is that the 49ers' fourth game in a row where they've shut out a team in the second half?
Crazy. Is it?
Yeah.
I have no idea. The Cardinals tackling was laughable at times. I think on one of the Kittle touchdowns, they just...
You just ran through about
I felt like Paul and I could have done a better job, if I'm perfectly honest. Hi, Paul.
Hello.
I mean, you would have served as better speed bumps.
Absolutely.
You say what you like about Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That's what they've been calling him on the social media. I'm not being racist. They win games when he plays.
I said this.
Shanahan's won, I think, 75% of his games when Jimmy's been starting.
Because he's quite good.
But also when you bring in CMC and you
well,
he once again didn't lead the team in rushing yards, but he's just so dangerous. Everyone has to account for him.
This is probably why CMC might not get injured. God, I've just given the kiss of death there.
You really have.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Sorry about that.
Get off their website now.
Well, I'm going to buy my shirt now. You've said that.
Fuck off. He's not having to run it 20 times a game.
No,
saving him for the playoffs, mate.
Yeah.
Saving him for the playoffs.
7 carries on last night.
We didn't sign him to beat the Cardinals. We signed him to win a Super Bowl.
You need him to beat the Cardinals twice a season, don't you?
That is true.
I don't think we do, actually, no, if I'm honest.
The Cardinals normally have our number as well. They're the team that usually beat us in the NFC West.
Brandon Ayuk's season has really come around. He has started to be the player he was last year again now. That's massive for you guys.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, can you ever win a Super Bowl with Cliff Clinkernuts?
No.
Anyone believing that he's worth keeping on for next year? You see, no, there's a lot of head shaking at this table. I don't get it. I think he got away with another season because of how they played in the first half of last year. Yeah. Then they fell away, and somehow they persuaded themselves, well, if we just keep going like that, then it'll be all right.
I think there's so much conjecture about Kyler Murray's contract.
I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
That almost distracted everyone from the fact that Cliff Kingsbury wasn't very good in the second half of last season.
No, I don't get it. Who was their leading receiver? Greg Dortch.
9 receptions, 103 yards.
Now,
DeAndre Hopkins had 9 receptions. Like, if you look
Yeah.
at the receptions,
Yeah, yeah.
actually, and even, I mean, there were no touchdowns, but Colt McCoy didn't have that bad a game.
Colt McCoy's been fine. It's just that they don't. There's zero consistency in a game from the Cardinals. Like, they aren't the same from one quarter to the next, let alone for 3 or 4 weeks. They just don't have any consistency, and it's been the same the whole time Clinker-Nuts has been there.
They're a team that's getting very unlucky with big injuries.
Everyone gets injuries.
Oh no, but I mean,
Go on.
like they lost Hopkins last year, didn't they?
Mm.
Lost what last year?
Kyle's got RSI in his thumbs from playing too many computer games.
But losing Zach Ertz is a big loss for them.
It doesn't help. It doesn't make the difference in this game.
Kyler Murray not started a game since the new Call of Duty came out.
Who knows?
Just saying.
Apparently he's back this week.
Yeah, well, it probably won't make any difference. Before the start of this season, there were games I really look forward to. One of them was Chiefs versus Chargers. Mahomes versus Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Kelsey and Juju all on display. Old school and new school with Reed and Staley. However, their seasons really haven't run close, certainly not as I had hoped. And on Sunday night, the LA Chargers ran Kansas City really close. And they led by 7 at the half, but ultimately KC proved just a tad too strong. 30-27 it ends as Herbert throws a late interception, his 7th on the season. This game was there for the taking for the Chargers.
This is how the Chargers and Chiefs games play games.
Yeah.
This is the same script as the last game, the home game for the Chiefs, and it's, I think, pretty much the same as the last couple of years.
He throws too many games away, Herbert. He gets himself into match-winning positions, and he throws too many interceptions.
Yeah, he threw 15 last season. He's halfway up to that mark already.
I thought you'd love him. Like, for
I
that reason.
do love him.
Great
I
to watch, but
absolutely
he does throw games away.
Yeah.
I do like how the Phillip Rivers replacement is turning into Phillip Rivers.
Does feel a bit that way.
Does
Now you've said Patrick Mahomes is 14-0 in the division, right, over the last however many seasons. 14-0. What is the record against a division, against a whole division?
Must be Brady.
No.
Marino.
No.
Oh, it'd be Rodgers.
No.
Oh. Ooh.
20 consecutive wins is the answer.
Aikman.
No. No. Don't overthink it. 20 consecutive wins. Quite a good quarterback. Won a lot of Super Bowls.
Montana.
Yes. 20-0 he went in the division. That is crazy.
Some of them teams were bad back then.
Well, like back when the Seahawks were proper shonky.
Yeah.
They
But
probably weren't in the division at that point.
oh, maybe not. Well, the
The
Rams.
Saints.
Oh yeah, they weren't good. But 20-0.
Falcons.
Well, they had Archie
Yeah.
Manning getting sacked
Yeah,
88
absolutely.
times a game.
Travis Kelce showing why he's the best tight end in the league. Broke the touchdown scoring record for tight ends, the record he had held with Gronk coming into this game.
When we talk about somebody who's you give them a gold jacket now, he's the next on the list for me.
Oh, absolutely. A bit like when Antonio Gates was at his peak. You just knew. just give him the gold jacket. Let him carry on as long as he wants.
Well, I think Kelsey has a ring, unlike Gates.
Oh, absolutely. He is probably second or third all time in terms of tight ends now.
Yeah, but Kelsey has a Mahomes and Gates had a Rivers. You know, it doesn't compare.
And
True.
there we go. I just wanted to shit on Rivers again.
Yeah, no, give him the gold jacket. You can wear it on like before the game, like
Just ponce around it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Show Phillip Rivers, here's what you could have won.
The reigning champs have fallen a long way this season, and their mood won't be helped by Sunday's 27-20 defeat by the equally turgid Saints. Andy Dalton had his best game for 3 years. Chris Olave had his third 100-yard game of the season, and the Rams had no answers. They even lost Stafford to another concussion. Turn the lights out in LA. The show is over. The bulbs are barely on in New Orleans, though. Both these teams need next season to be here now.
Just don't know. But
The Rams got any money to fix
what do you
next
do
season?
with the Rams? You've got no draft picks. You've got very little money. What do you do?
Oh no, it's the consequence of their own actions.
they've just waived Darrell Henderson as well.
They've waived Darrell Henderson. He wanted out. But Akers wanted out.
Yeah, Akers wanted out. Akers had 14 carries. He's now back in favour, apparently.
I don't know why, because none of them are any good. Darrell Henderson waived. Absolutely. Fair enough.
It's like, what do you? I don't know. This is like
I struggle with this because what do the Rams do now? Stafford's now had 2 concussions in 3 weeks.
He'll be out for at
Sit
least
him.
2 weeks.
They should just sit him for the season.
gotta sit
Like Cup, just they're both done. Sit him, start again next year. What's the point? You're going nowhere.
The only thing that would stop that happening is the fact that players like Aaron Donald, like Jalen Ramsey, would get pissed off at that because they want to win. And they're dominant enough in the dressing room to kind of almost...
Well, they had to persuade Donald to play on.
Well, exactly. Do they want to piss Donald off again? Or they want him to come back next year? And what do you say to him? Like, we're going to sit Stafford so he's ready for next year. And Donald's like, well, what about this year? Again,
True.
am I going to go out and
But what, they
risk
got
myself?
three wins?
3 and 7,
They're done.
I think I completely agree. But
You can't argue, let's carry on this season when you're 3 and 7.
I absolutely agree. But are you going to tell someone like Aaron Donald, like, yeah, we're not going to be competitive anymore? And for what? At least if you're the Colts or someone else, you say, right, we're not going to be competitive anymore. You know what? We're going to really dry out high draft pick next year. And we're going to bring in some real talent in the draft, and we're going to go into free agency and be really aggressive. Yeah, we're not going to be aggressive this year, Aaron. But next year, when it's the same team, we'll be really good. What do you do?
Remind him how much he gets paid. That's what you're doing, isn't it?
But at the end of the day, he's probably got enough money. He's go, fuck this, and just walk away.
If he does, he does. What else are you going to do? Like, they can't do anything else. They've spent all their money. They won their They won the Super Bowl at home. Like, they might have to have a couple of years to go again.
So not very many teams have won the Super Bowl and then had a 3-6 record the following season. You want to try and name them?
Ravens,
Well, let's try and do it in some sort of
Eagles.
Broncos.
2016. Who won the Super Bowl?
Broncos.
Yes. Following season, 3-6 they were. They are the last team to win the Super Bowl and miss the playoffs the following
Yeah,
year.
but Peyton
So Peyton
retired.
Prior to that, 2003,
That would have been the Bucks, wouldn't
it
it?
was
Bucks,
the
yeah.
Bucks, and they lost 5 of the 6 games they lost by 1 score. The Rams have only lost 1 game by 1 score. And then you're a lot further back. The 82 Niners, who were dealing with a strike-affected season, and the 99 Broncos after they lost Elway.
Yeah, but they lost Elway and Davis.
Yeah,
so they
absolutely.
they lost their offense.
And the 49ers lost their whole team because of a strike.
But what I'm getting at is this is one of the historically worst defending champions of all time.
I mean,
Who would have thought that?
also, a kicker was MVP that season.
As it should be every season.
Dennis Allen, I don't like the sticking with Andy Dalton, but he's won a game. Are they going to win more games with Winston? I think they would, but who knows? Like,
But Winston's
Does
costing
it
them.
matter?
Winston's costing them nothing.
They're all costing them nothing, aren't they? They're all bad quarterbacks.
what are you getting at this point out of Alvin Kamara? 40 yards?
42.
It's just such a disappointing season for the
It
Saints.
really is, because there is a lot of talent on their roster, quarterback aside.
Dennis Allen is not the head coach for
No.
next season. How is he possibly?
Like-
He's a great defensive coordinator, a rubbish head coach.
He's in that kind of Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah, but there's so many of them. But we already knew this about Dennis Allen.
Exactly. So why do they make the decision? I don't know, right?
When-
Got to burn
when
it
you-
down, start again.
When you saw their cap position, where they were, you just needed somebody to give a degree of continuity. I think they've given him that. Now you just need to try something different.
They're still 55 over for next year.
Yeah,
So
but it's better than the 85
they're-
they were over this
yeah.
season.
So that it's still not like Thomas is going to have to go. There's going to be lots of players that are going to have to leave.
That will hurt them.
But he was one player that was moving the ball.
Olave is the one shining star.
There's no point in moving the ball for 2 games in 2.5 years. Like,
I mean, that's
he's
about-
talented, but he's not.
I love Michael
He's not
Thomas,
there,
but
is he?
he's
Yeah.
not there.
There's got to be about 10 million in cap as
Best
well.
ability, playability.
Unless you're trading him, he
Available.
counts as your dead money, so it's not going to help you.
Oh, someone will take him, I think.
Someone will take him.
I'm sure someone will, but
I mean, we're pretty stupid at the Giants with wideouts.
yeah.
Right. And finally, this week's toilet bowl, the 2-7 Raiders took on the 3-6 Broncos. This one went to overtime. Of course it fucking went to overtime.
At least there were points. in
We
this
got
game.
a rare Raiders win as Karen Adams hook up on a 35-yard walk-off score. Nathaniel Hackett and Josh McDaniels are clinging to their jobs here. Melvin Gordon no longer employed because he couldn't cling on to the ball on the 1-yard line for the second time this season. Wow, this was... I mean, there were points, but Christ,
Sorry,
two
Nathaniel
terrible.
Hackett is gone.
when we're looking at
He gave up play calling duties, and actually they looked better with Kubiak calling the plays.
Too late.
But it
He's
still
gone.
wasn't enough.
He's not. He's not the coach that ownership group hired.
This is a record-equaling third overtime loss in a season, the Broncos.
They only hired him because they thought they could get Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree.
That was it. That was the only reason for that
But
hire.
the current owners didn't hire him.
No.
If it's been a change of ownership, they'd be like, "Fuck this shit! I didn't pay $5 billion or whatever they paid for, and $47 million a year for a good quarterback who's just turned shit." They're going to want to, all right, get rid of the coach. Let's start again. Let's see if we can get any more out of Russell Wilson before we have to make a big decision on it.
But this is what happens when you bring in a ball back as a head coach. What happening with the Raiders? They're 2-7. Sorry.
3-7.
I think that both of these teams, that so much more was expected. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about it in terms of the Broncos' no ownership. But when you have to also be careful because you can take what's happened at the Panthers as a bit of a lesson.
You can, but they got rid of an established coach and completely changed the whole system and everything. This, you've only got kind of 1 year of coaching to unpick, and you've got a good quarterback. Well,
Apparently.
someone who used to be a good quarterback. It's where Gary comes in and goes, Russell Wilson's spent, he's done, he's never going to come back again. But
I do believe that.
Yeah, I know.
And
That's fine.
I'm hoping someone's going to jump on the bandwagon with me soon. But apparently, I did ask earlier and I got told no, not yet.
I'm not ready yet. I think.
But I do think he's done. Yeah, I think he's done.
I think if the same performance happens next year under a different coach, I will happily jump on that bandwagon. I can't stand the guy, but he was a good
He can't
player.
all be coaching with a quarterback that experienced. So Russell Wilson's got to own some of it himself. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been amazing, has he?
Really awful.
Yeah.
Derek Carr gets a reasonable amount of stick. He's playing in a bad team. He is the most winning percentage quarterback in overtime games. He has won 8 of 10 overtime games in his career, ahead of Brady and Manning. That's clutch.
Yeah, but there's a difference between the games Brady and Manning played in overtime as opposed to playing the shitty Broncos.
Yeah.
What that is a great stat to describe someone who is still a loser.
Yeah, okay.
Because he spent his
It's true, though. It's so true.
that's the best stat you can come up with. He's won loads of overtime games and been to the playoffs once
Manning and
or
Brady
something.
didn't go to
Has he been to the
overtime that
playoffs
often.
once?
He didn't play in them. Connor Cook did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whilst he's been at the Raiders,
Last year.
yeah, but last year. That's it though. That's it. Brilliant.
And to be fair,
It's an interesting stat, but I don't think it's
and he has had several coaches and not done that. So
Devontae Adams now has 10 touchdowns on the season. That is 6 consecutive seasons of double-figure
another
touchdowns.
quiz?
Yeah.
I like the way I don't
There
like
are
quizzes, so you just
only-
drop them in through the
There
podcast
are only
now.
5 players with 6 or more consecutive seasons with double-digit
Jerry
touchdowns.
Rice.
Jerry Rice is second.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss is first.
Terrell Owens.
Yes.
Ochisenko.
No.
Calvin Johnson.
No.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter is also on 6. There is one player on 8 consecutive seasons with double-digit touchdowns.
Michael Irvin.
No. Peyton Manning
Gronk.
and
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison. Thank you. Well done. You did better than I thought you would.
Thank you, Sporkle.
I went left field with Gronk.
It's crazy that Adams is being wasted on this team. But
Versus being on the.
He wanted to
Being
go
on
and
the
play with his
batters.
best mate. Getting to do that.
Right. That is all of the games. Sweetest player of the week nominees, please.
I've already given mine. Cole Kmet, one-handed catch.
Was a good catch.
I'm going for the Jones punt return for touchdown just because there was 5 seconds left.
I'm
on the
going
clock.
for the Cordell Patterson.
Ooh, 3 splitting the way.
Because I cannot vote for a Patriots player.
I'm also going to go with Cordell Patterson because I thought that was just fantastic.
That'd be my second vote, so I'm happy with that.
I refuse to give a bear a vote.
Patterson.
Yay.
Carried. Fair enough. Right.
Hang on, who's it sponsored by?
Toot Sweet.
Sweetest Player of the Week, sponsored by Toot Sweets.
I
Thank you.
only got 1 bag of sweets and it wasn't enough.
Hey, we're getting more for Super Bowl.
Brilliant. Right.
Good.
A few weeks ago, I think 3 weeks ago now, I asked you to eliminate 3 teams from each conference. I now need you to eliminate a fourth team from each conference. I want you to look and tell me who definitely isn't making the playoffs. Four teams.
Have you got the list of people from last
Who have
time?
we already got rid
Why
of?
would I have the list?
Because you just proposed the question.
I was the only...
Well, this is fine then. I could tell you.
We asked if there was any
I
homework
know-
earlier.
I
I'm pretty
know
sure
exactly
it's a
who it is.
Right, should we start AFC? I'm pretty sure we went Texas Jags, Browns.
I think we went Texas. Yeah, Texas Jags Browns. We
I
went.
also have it as Texans, Jags, Browns. So yeah, now I need you to pick a fourth team from the AFC that is definitely not making the playoffs.
Broncos.
Steelers.
I was going with Steelers. You can only pick one.
Steelers.
Steelers then.
Steelers.
Raiders.
We're proposing, and the majority says Steelers. They are the fourth. We can eliminate five if you like. You want to?
I think you could eliminate
Right, so Steelers
6
and-
probably.
Broncos.
Steelers and Broncos, or Steelers and Raiders.
Raiders, yeah, like
I'd go Broncos and Raiders.
Yes.
You want to go brave. You want to have 6 teams eliminated.
Jags,
Yeah.
Raiders, Browns, Broncos, Steelers, Texans.
Yep.
Yes, I agree.
They're
Okay.
all they're all
16.
3 and
Carol,
7
done.
or they're all 3 and 7 or worse.
Carried.
So
Okay, then in the NFC,
Who do we get rid of?
well,
Bears,
I'm going to say the Packers aren't going to make the playoffs.
Bears, Panthers, I would imagine.
I think we went Bears, Panthers, Saints.
All right.
okay, now.
This is tough.
Lions might have been on there.
No.
Cardinals.
We refuse to let you put the Lions on there.
Right.
Cardinals.
Rams.
Rams. It's got to be the Rams. They're done.
They
Hang
suck.
on, we just wrote off a load of 3 and 7 teams in the
I mean,
AFC.
also,
Yep.
that they are going to be playing John Walford under
Are
17.
we going
the
for
next 2
6
weeks.
again? Are we?
Well, you can try.
No, we've got to be even.
All right,
AFC, NFC.
So
hell,
Rams,
man up,
4.
man up.
6 in the NFC is tough.
Rams, Cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals, yep.
Rams, Cardinals, Panthers, Bears,
Saints,
Saints, and then Packers or Lions
Packers,
because they're sitting behind the Lions.
Packers. They're done. They're not getting. They're not in a million years touching the playoffs.
The Lions are on an upswing. The Packers suck.
All those in favour of Packers say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Well, that's 2.
I don't think I could.
John doesn't have a
I'm
voice.
sorry, I can't rule out the Packers yet.
No,
Really?
Just
Well, you got to pick another team then.
they have played a game more than the Lions. As
Who
well.
are you going to pick? Who's the other team?
why not pick Commanders?
Because they are a much
6
better
and
team.
5.
They're a much better
But
team.
no, in a division with the Eagles, Cowboys.
Yeah, I think all 4 could go through
It's
at the moment.
possible. I would take the Commanders all day over the Packers.
I would as well.
Right. So Packers. It's got to be.
So we're saying the bottom 6 are out.
Yeah.
Wow.
You wanted to go with 6. I
Well,
only asked
that's-
you to go with 4.
So but then that includes the Lions still having a shot.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Contenders.
Contenders.
These
indeed.
are all contenders,
They
John.
are. They are.
I
Right.
feel a little bit sick after that.
Eliminated. Any other news you want to get to before we talk guaranteed contracts?
Sam Darnold has been named as a starter for the Panthers.
Fuck. I said news.
That's news.
Jesus Christ. Sam Darnold, the original Zach Wilson.
The worst circus in town gets a new clown. Fucking hell.
Right. Jim pointed us in the direction of an article earlier, which I haven't read it in its entirety, basically saying that there's been some collusion from the NFLPA around fully guaranteed contracts. So,
Or the lack thereeof.
yeah. So Deshaun Watson has the league's only fully guaranteed contract for a quarterback, $265 million.
I think it's that. I think it's 250.
All right, $250 million. Fuck me.
You give me 15 million quid, I'd
okay.
notice.
Yeah, fine. What do you think? Like, should they get guaranteed contracts? Should they be fully guaranteed like they are in the NBA or numerous other leagues? The Major League Baseball is the big one.
Yeah, but the NBA contracts aren't structured for you to get that amount the entire time. They're structured for you to burn out and get traded. They're not designed for you to be there that entire time, which I think the NFL is almost expecting you to be there for that length of contract.
So the bigger risk of injury within the NFL. And I know the contract guarantees to a limited amount in terms of kind of injury, but if you're guaranteed, bear in mind when every contract is agreed, be it quarterback or whoever, the team has to place that money into escrow. That money has to be there. That's a rule that and it dates back to when NFL teams weren't as financially stable as they are now. That the money would be there for the players should everything go tits up. There are teams within this league still, and mainly the Raiders, just aren't going to have that much money to put into escrow. So if it does go like that, you're going to have a case of something that which the NFL has tried to avoid since its existence in terms of money is going to start winning.
I think they need to play rookies more. Is my opinion. I don't think guaranteed money is the thing. Guaranteeing one player $250 million is ridiculous. Yeah, that is ridiculous. So what they need to do, is you see so many players, so many issues with contract negotiations because there's all sorts of rules around what you can do with rookie contracts. The 5th-year option, etc., etc. If you just paid them better, then you wouldn't need to keep going through all this. And I really think that's an issue because players spend half their career getting battered, working very hard to get paid. And then once they get to that big contract, because they know they've been battered for the last 4 or 5 years, they want it guaranteed. And that's what's causing all these issues. Just pay them better from year 2 even, see which one's a bust. But it needs to come up quicker. You see the quarterbacks and they're playing on like 11 million, and then there's other quarterbacks like that are shitter playing on like 45 million. It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Do you see that rolling up in terms of what they're doing in college with next in line?
Exactly, that's the whole point. It should flow from college into your rookie contract, into then your your established contract, and then obviously as you get older, your veteran contract almost. Like it just needs to be natural, doesn't it? And at the moment,
I agree with Gary.
No, but it's crazy. It is crazy.
It is crazy.
They pay people so little in that start of their career. Then they go, right, I'm going to get one big contract.
When their earning potential's at their most,
all my money.
They get paid the least.
And that's why it all kicks off.
Do we agree that there is undoubted collusion amongst the owners to stop this being a thing?
There's always been collusion amongst the owners.
I mean, also, look,
lots of different things.
I mean, it is their club. It's a franchise system. It is their club. They can collude. It's not. There's no reason for them not to.
and also, but let's take this down a level. If anybody's
That's
going to do something stupid, it's the Browns.
Yes.
And I do feel like the Browns hadn't done anything stupid at office level for a little while.
They were having a good run.
Yeah.
Like they were doing some really sensible things.
The team got to the playoffs. They had coach of the year.
Yeah.
And they sat together at the board table and went, we ain't done anything stupid for a while.
I want to take you back to something they did that was really clever that everyone thought would take off in the league because it happens in the NBA and the baseball. Do you remember the Brock Osweiler trade?
Yeah.
Where they basically paid for draft picks by taking Brock Osweiler. Everyone said, oh, you can't do that in our league. That's an NBA thing. And it's never happened again. It just hasn't carried over. So why is everyone so worried that this has to carry over? What makes them think that will definitely happen? Because can you think of another Brock Osweiler type trade? It's happened.
Yeah, but the Brock Osweiler trade was a very set period of time based on a club that had underperformed for years.
Yeah, I know.
There is a higher likelihood of another quarterback going to the ownership and going, I want that.
Well, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I am better than him. My record shows I'm better than him. I want more than that. And it's very hard for a club to go, no. It's very easy to justify why you're not buying picks.
The Ravens are going to have to be incredibly brave not to pay Lamar Jackson.
Because another team would.
Yeah, another team will.
Yeah.
And what happens to your fan base, the people who you earn money from?
But there is only a finite number of teams that can or will pay these guaranteed
Someone
contracts.
will, though.
And that's why you need something like the NBA, like the Supermax, because there's only one player who can get that.
Look at the hole that the Panthers are in right now. Imagine if Lamar Jackson suddenly came on his waiver and Panthers have got a shit ton of cap space and they say, Lamar, we're going to pay you and we're going to build the team around you.
And that's why we're in this situation, because Deshaun Watson, the Browns knew the only way they were getting him was to pay it all guaranteed, because the Saints, the Dolphins, etc. weren't.
Yeah.
And that's what he said the week before he wasn't joining them. And suddenly
He was going to the Falcons, which is why Matt Ryan was out of the Falcons.
Yeah.
And before that, I think the last sort of nearly guaranteed thing was Kirk when he joined the Vikings.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen a lot, but I think the Watson deal has it. Well, this is all based on public comments by the Baltimore owner that basically the the Browns made a bad decision in guaranteeing his contract.
Steve Bisciotti basically said, "Damn, I wish they hadn't guaranteed the whole contract."
Yeah,
that's on the Athletic article which was sent around to you earlier.
yeah, but yeah, there is a part of the CBA does say they're not allowed to. I'm just going to read it. Enter into an agreement expressed or implied with the league or another club and its employee concerning the terms and contracts offered to a player in a player contract. So basically, that is an anti-collusion thing. But whether this happens...
We know it happens.
But whether this is successful seems unlikely. Whether this resolution happens, but...
We know the league is full of collusion because let's mention our old friend Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Yeah.
That proves the point. We know it's happening. The problem is it's an owners' league. It's their clubs. They can do as they choose, really.
I actually quite like, sorry to go back to the NBA, but you look at what they do with that Supermax contract, they have conditions on it. So you can actually get to a point where someone like Lamar Jackson... To be one of the highest paid players in the NBA, you need to be in your 8th season. You need to have made the All-NBA team in any of the 3 previous seasons. You have to have been the MVP once. There's 9 players who've got that contract.
What they need in the NFL maybe is a tiered system. Like Gary was saying, like at this point you're this, at this point you're this, and then put, as you say, provisos in there. You can only tip into the next one.
You can have like levels, can't you?
Yeah.
Min, max, and teams can pay what they want out of that.
Once players have made Pro Bowls, for instance, they should be worth more money. Not
based on the Pro Bowls decided. No.
He's still bitter. Still bitter.
You know what I don't like about the Americans, right? If you had a Pro Bowl system in the Premier League, Nate Peterman would be playing in the Pro Bowl. If the fact that fans can vote in,
It's just stupid.
and there isn't any process where a write-in candidate's gone terrible on it.
This is how that boat got named
Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah.
True.
You can't trust the public for anything. Brexit, Tory party, anything.
But yeah, I think there's
Save it for the Politics podcast, James.
I think there's things that there needs to be kind of a more structure.
I agree. I'm agreeing with Gary and Paul.
Yeah, the other thing is it's just not going to happen.
Of course not.
I can't see it. Right. Anything else you want to get to before I get to my bed on my own? No. I'm calling that time. Thank you, gentlemen. I will see you back here for next week's show.